Hey guys, today we're taking a step back in time, way back, to an era where mammoths roamed the earth and human ingenuity was tested against some of the harshest conditions ever faced. Imagine this. You've just arrived at the entrance of a massive mammoth pelt tent, the very thing that has kept your ancestors alive for generations. You take a deep breath, and the first thing that hits you is the rich, earthy smell of the mammoth fur's heavy, dense, and distinctly animal. The scent is sharp but comforting, like being enveloped by nature itself. Now, you probably won't survive this if you think living in a mammoth pelt tent is all cozy and easy. It's not some soft, fluffy retreat. It's a place of survival. Think of it like a human-sized cocoon, but one that's only meant to protect you from freezing to death and keep wild predators from tearing you apart. Inside, the fire burns low, and the flickering light casts long shadows on the walls made of mammoth hide, stretched taut on a sturdy wooden frame. The cold outside is relentless, but inside, the warmth from the fire creates a comfortable haven for you and your group. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, so drop your location and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The mammoth pelt tent isn't just a shelter, it's an entire way of life. It's where the ancient peoples of the Ice Age found warmth, safety, and even community. But just stepping inside isn't enough to fully appreciate what it really meant to live in one of these tents. It's time to dig deeper into the details, the structure, the comfort, the role it played in the survival of its inhabitants. The first thing you notice as you step further into the mammoth pelt tent is its structure. The entrance is low, just a small, almost cramped opening, probably covered with more mammoth hide to keep the cold out. It feels almost like crawling into the belly of a beast, protective, warm, but also a little claustrophobic. The tent is made of thick mammoth pelts draped over a framework of bones and wood, ingeniously designed to keep you sheltered from the relentless cold of the Ice Age. Every piece of bone, every string of sinew and hide, was purposefully chosen, crafted with survival in mind. The frame, often made of the bones of the very creatures they hunted, is sturdy but flexible, giving the tent the ability to bend and sway under the weight of snow or the occasional gust of wind. The mammoth hides, carefully prepared and stretched, were then stitched together to form the outer walls. Imagine the number of pelts required to build a tent that could house a family of 5 or more. Each pelt was an immense achievement, a symbol of the labor, time, and danger involved in hunting such a massive creature. A single mammoth could provide enough material for multiple tents, leaving the hunters with both food and shelter. Historians still argue whether these tents were permanent dwellings or more temporary structures set up as needed. Some believe that the nomadic lifestyle of Ice Age peoples meant the tents were frequently moved, while others suggest that some settlements may have used them as semi-permanent homes during the harshest winter months. In either case, it's clear that these mammoth pelt tents were not just shelters. They were vital tools in the survival toolkit, each one a fortress against the elements. Inside, the structure was surprisingly effective in holding heat. The mammoth pelts acted as excellent insulators, trapping the warmth from the fire at the center of the tent. In the middle of the night, when the wind outside howls like a beast, it's the warmth of that fire, the heat of the community, that keeps the cold at bay. Still, while the warmth of the fire is a blessing, it's not always enough to fend off the biting chill of the outside world. The cold always seeps in through the cracks because, let's face it, these ancient tents were not exactly airtight. But despite these imperfections, the tent does the job. It's a masterful blend of form and function, made to shelter you against nature's worst. The pelts protect you from the biting cold, the fire provides light and heat, and the bones and wood give the structure its strength. Yet, it's not just about warmth. These mammoth pelt tents symbolize survival. Inside, they were both the hearth and the home, where people ate, slept, and lived their entire existence under a single roof. It was a communal space, no privacy, no solitude, but a sense of shared survival that created a bond between those inside. In the grand scheme of things, the mammoth pelt tent is one of humanity's first true homes. It's a monument to early ingenuity and resourcefulness. Every time a group of hunters returned with a new pelt, they weren't just feeding their families, they were ensuring their survival. And inside the warmth of that tent, surrounded by the familiar sounds of a crackling fire and the comforting presence of loved ones, the daily struggles of Ice Age life felt just a little less daunting. As you settle into the tent, you quickly realize that the inside isn't just a place to sleep, it's where the real action of life unfolds. The first thing that stands out is the central fire, its flickering warmth reaching into every corner of the mammoth pelt tent. It's not just a source of heat, it's the heart of the space, where everyone gathers to cook, share stories, and stay warm. There's something almost ritualistic about it. The fire isn't just practical, it's a constant presence in the lives of everyone in the tent. The way the fire crackles and spits is almost hypnotic, and while the warmth feels like a blessing, you can't help but notice how precarious it is. One wrong move, and the entire place could catch alight. Yet, it's a risk they've lived with for generations. Around the fire, you see your family members and fellow tribe members gathered close together, each occupying their own space in the tent. There are no walls or partitions, just bodies huddled together for warmth, comfort, and survival. The space is communal, without much room for personal privacy. Sleeping arrangements are simple and unpretentious. You don't have a mattress, nor a soft pillow. Instead, the floor is covered in furs, more mammoth pelts, which provide insulation from the cold ground. Some people sleep near the fire, enjoying the warmth, while others find cooler spots closer to the entrance, where the draft might make the air more bearable. The smell of the pelts is earthy, strong, and natural, a far cry from the clean, sanitized air we're used to today. There's also the issue of space. There's not much of it. The tent is functional, but compact. A family of 5 or more can easily fill every available corner, with bodies lying side by side, creating a sense of closeness that's as much about survival as it is about community. People move carefully, avoiding tripping over each other or the tools scattered around. Even when you're resting, there's a palpable sense of activity. There's always something to be done, whether it's preparing food, fixing tools, or maintaining the fire. Historians still debate how much personal space these ancient peoples truly needed. Some believe that the tight quarters in these tents helped foster a strong sense of family and group cohesion, while others suggest that it might have led to frustration and conflict. There's evidence that communal living like this, where everyone shares everything from space to food, created a strong sense of solidarity and teamwork. At the same time, you can't ignore the potential for tension in such confined quarters. The noise, the smell, the constant closeness. It's hard to imagine that everyone got along perfectly all the time. But in this harsh, unforgiving world, getting along was a matter of survival. The people inside the mammoth pelt tent weren't just bound together by blood. They were bound by the shared reality of their environment. It was a world where survival required cooperation, and every family member had a role to play, whether that meant hunting, gathering, or taking care of the children. Every night, you sleep not just for rest, but to prepare for the next day's survival, knowing that the bond between each person in the tent is what keeps the whole group alive. Though the space is tight, the community is strong. And this strength, this shared sense of purpose, is what makes the mammoth pelt tent not just a shelter from the cold, but a sanctuary, one that represents not just survival, but unity in the face of everything the wild world has to throw at them. You might think that the mammoth pelt tent is all about comfort, warmth, and a bit of rustic charm, but the reality is that living in such a shelter comes with its fair share of challenges. The warmth of the fire may stave off the chill of the Ice Age, but there's also the constant battle to maintain it. The fire doesn't just need fuel, it needs attention. You have to stoke it regularly, adding more wood, making sure it doesn't burn out or turn into a smoky mess. The smoke curls around the space, occasionally stinging your eyes, and while you try to position yourself near the warmth, the air can feel heavy with soot. Every time you breathe, you feel the weight of that fire in your lungs. Historians still argue whether people of the Ice Age had developed any real solutions for the smoke inside these tents. Some believe that the constant exposure to smoke led to respiratory problems, while others suggest that the tents were designed with some form of ventilation, perhaps a hole at the top to let the smoke escape. Either way, the smoke must have been a constant nuisance, especially when the weather forced everyone to huddle closer to the fire. The need for warmth during the harsh winters often came at the cost of fresh air, and no matter how ingenious the design of the tent, managing the smoke was never going to be easy. While the fire's warmth was essential, it also brought its own risks. You could never fully escape the danger of it getting out of hand. Imagine the panic that must have gripped the people of the tent if the fire flickered too low or sparked unexpectedly. They relied on the fire not just for comfort, but for cooking, for light, and for the safety it provided from the cold, dark wilderness outside. In a world where everything could freeze in the blink of an eye, the fire was a lifeline. Yet it was a fragile lifeline. A spark, a flicker of wind, or a careless movement, and the warmth could be gone. And then there's the noise. The crackling of the fire is constant, the sound of logs shifting in the flames, the occasional snap or pop. But beyond that, the outside world doesn't rest. There are the sounds of the wind howling through the snow, the distant calls of wolves or other predators, the rustling of creatures in the underbrush, or the occasional roar of a mammoth herd. These sounds are a reminder that the safety of the tent is fragile, that the world beyond is not friendly. While the fire inside offers some solace, the knowledge that predators or harsh weather could be lurking outside adds a layer of tension to the environment. You don't have the luxury of peaceful silence. There's always something in the background, reminding you of the dangers of the world just beyond your doorstep. At night, the tent is alive with a symphony of sounds. The murmurs of your family members sleeping, the soft shuffle of someone adjusting their position on the furs, the occasional cough or snore. Everyone has a role to play, and everyone's survival is dependent on the cooperation of the group. Despite the noise, despite the cramped space, there's a sense of comfort in this shared experience. You are not alone in the wilderness. Inside these walls of mammoth pelts, you are part of something greater. The sounds of the night are both a reminder of the dangers outside and the security of those gathered around the fire. Yet, despite the warmth and the community, there is always the underlying awareness that you're living in a world where comfort is a luxury. You have no soft mattresses, no pillows, no space to call your own. The furs on the ground are all you have to sleep on, and even those, while providing some insulation from the freezing earth, are far from comfortable. Every movement in the night is an attempt to find a little more space, a little more warmth, as you settle in for the night, knowing that tomorrow will bring another day of work, of survival. It's not a life of ease, but it is one of resilience. In a world where every day is a struggle to stay alive, the mammoth pelt tent is a small but vital piece of the puzzle that allows these early humans to survive and thrive. Living in a mammoth pelt tent wasn't all about comfort, warmth, and companionship. It was also about survival, and survival in the harshest conditions meant understanding the brutal reality of the environment surrounding you. The first thing you realize as you settle in is that despite the warmth and shelter the tent provides, the world outside doesn't stop. The cold is always lurking, and the tent itself offers only a fragile buffer against the elements. It's not just about surviving the chill of winter. It's about managing the extreme contrasts between warmth and cold, comfort and discomfort. The warmth from the fire is a blessing during the long, freezing nights, but it also creates a need for constant vigilance. If the fire goes out or gets too low, the temperature inside plummets rapidly. You can feel the cold creeping in from the cracks between the pelts, the icy draft that reminds you of the unforgiving environment outside. The outside world is not something to be taken lightly. The freezing winds can whip through the shelter, and the cold is biting. Even within the protection of the tent, there's the constant struggle to maintain warmth, especially during the night when the fire is the only source of heat. Historians still debate whether the ancient peoples who lived in these tents were able to fully manage the fluctuating temperatures inside. Some believe they used layers of furs and other insulating materials to trap heat and keep the cold at bay. Others suggest that the constant work of maintaining the fire, combined with the closeness of family members, was enough to keep the tent relatively warm during the coldest months. Regardless of the specifics, it's clear that managing the temperature was a constant challenge. The fire's warmth provided a sense of safety, but it was also a reminder that the world outside was dangerous. Beyond the cold, the tent also had to withstand the forces of nature that threatened it. Heavy snow, rain, and wind were constant threats. A heavy snowfall could collapse the frame of the tent, and even the thick pelts of mammoths could not entirely keep out the elements. Each day, you're aware of the fragility of your shelter. A shift in the wind, a sudden storm, and everything you've built could come crashing down. The tent, while sturdy, is still vulnerable to the immense power of nature. You might spend the entire day repairing the structure, checking the hide for leaks or holes, reinforcing the frame, or clearing snow from the entrance. The daily upkeep is as much a part of life as anything else. Despite these challenges, the tent provides more than just physical protection. It creates a sense of security, a feeling that you are safe, even in the most dangerous conditions. The fire inside, the warmth of your family close by, and the constant rhythm of daily life create a kind of comfort, a fragile sense of normalcy. The sounds of the night, the quiet crackle of the fire, the soft murmurs of family members remind you that you're not alone. The tent is a small but essential haven in an otherwise wild and uncontrollable world. But there's another element to living inside a mammoth pelt tent, something you may not immediately consider: the constant awareness of predators. The sounds of animals outside are not comforting. Wolves, bears, and other predators roam nearby, attracted by the scent of food or warmth. Your tent, while offering shelter from the cold, also provides no protection from the beasts that lurk in the dark. You rely on the strength of the fire and the vigilance of your community to ward off these threats. This constant sense of being watched, of being vulnerable to the outside world, shapes every moment of your existence. You're never truly at ease because the wilderness is always just a breath away. The mammoth pelt tent may be your refuge, but it's not an invincible fortress. It's a place to rest, to gather strength for the next day's challenges. It's not about comfort, it's about survival, about enduring through the harshest conditions with the tools you have. So, even though the fire flickers in the corner and the warmth of your family surrounds you, there's always that underlying sense of tension. You're constantly aware of the dangers beyond the firelight. The night is full of sounds that keep you on edge: the wind, the occasional howl of a wolf, the rustling of something moving just outside the tent. It's a reminder that no matter how secure you might feel inside the mammoth pelt tent, the wilderness is always waiting, just beyond the warmth. Despite the constant awareness of danger, the mammoth pelt tent is also where the true essence of community comes alive. Inside this tight, shared space, you're not just surviving, you're thriving together. The tent is where life happens. It's where the daily rhythm of living, working, and bonding takes place. The fire may keep the cold at bay, but it's the people inside who make the warmth last. There's something incredibly grounding about being part of this close-knit group, even though the physical space is cramped. No walls, no doors, just the rawness of human connection. Inside the tent, everyone has a role. The men go hunting and gather food, the women prepare meals, and everyone works together to ensure the fire stays alive through the night. Children play near the fire, carefully watched by the elders. There's always movement, always a task at hand. The space, though small and shared, is a constant flurry of activity. The sense of duty, of being responsible not just for your own survival, but for the well-being of the entire group, is palpable. Your survival isn't just about your own ability to adapt to the harshness of the world. It's about how well you work together as a community. Historians still debate how hierarchical these early societies were. Some believe that there was a clear structure, with leaders or elders guiding the group and making decisions. Others suggest that the community might have been more egalitarian, with shared responsibility and a more fluid approach to leadership. One thing is certain: the social dynamics of these early groups were tightly woven into the fabric of survival. The success of the community depended on mutual respect and the sharing of resources, food, warmth, tools, and knowledge. Despite the intimacy and camaraderie of life inside the tent, there's also an unspoken tension. Everyone knows that life in such close quarters isn't always smooth sailing. You're constantly in close contact with others, with no space for privacy. There's no personal room to retreat to when things get too overwhelming. The constant presence of other people means that disagreements, small annoyances, and personal conflicts are bound to arise. Yet, the stakes are high. Your survival depends on your ability to live together, cooperate, and maintain harmony. There's a deep, almost unspoken understanding that the unity of the group is the key to overcoming the dangers outside. And then there's the food. Meals are a communal activity, and the preparation is done together. Every scrap of meat from the hunt is valuable. There's no room for waste in this world. When a mammoth is hunted, the entire family, perhaps even the entire community, gathers around to share in the spoils. Everything is utilized: the meat, the bones, the hide, and even the internal organs. Nothing goes to waste. It's a reminder of how interconnected every part of life is. Your survival isn't just about the food you hunt. It's about how efficiently you can use everything that comes with it. Nothing is taken for granted. You learn to appreciate the smallest things, to find value in what others might overlook. In many ways, the constant hustle inside the mammoth pelt tent makes the time pass faster, even though the world outside remains frozen in time. It's a place where both daily chores and quiet moments of rest are shared. But it's also a place of resilience, of building strength as a group and as individuals. Every small task, whether it's tending the fire, mending the pelts, or preparing a meal, contributes to the larger goal: survival. Even as the cold outside bites and the wilderness waits, inside the tent, you are reminded that you're part of something bigger. The sense of community, though tightly packed, offers its own kind of warmth. Sure, you might not have your own space or complete peace, but the knowledge that you're never truly alone, that you have people to rely on in this harsh world, is something powerful. It's the anchor that keeps everyone from being swept away by the overwhelming challenges of the Ice Age. But as we know, this reliance on each other isn't without its costs. With such a tightly knit group, boundaries can blur and emotions can run high. Tension is inevitable, and in a world where every action matters, even the smallest disagreement can feel like a life-or-death situation. Living in such close quarters, the constant companionship of others might seem comforting, but it also brings with it its own unique set of pressures. There's no escaping the daily grind of shared space. From the quiet murmurs of family members at night to the constant shuffle of feet, life inside the mammoth pelt tent is a living, breathing collection of human interactions. Personal boundaries are stretched thin. You know that every sound, every movement, is noticed by someone because there's simply no hiding in this space. You can't retreat to another room to cool off after a long day. You can't lock yourself away to escape the noise. There is no personal time. Yet, despite the lack of privacy, the communal space fosters a sense of deep connection. Imagine the quiet moments after a long day of hunting or gathering. You're all sitting around the fire, sharing stories of the hunt, while the flames dance in the center of the tent. The firelight reflects off the fur-covered walls, and there's a sense of belonging that emerges from these quiet exchanges. But those quiet moments can be short-lived. The nature of survival means you're constantly busy, constantly needed. There's always something to be done, more hides to stretch, tools to sharpen, food to prepare, or repairs to make on the structure. Every day is a repetitive, unending cycle of tasks, but it's the very repetition that keeps the group together. While the necessity for cooperation is evident in every aspect of daily life, The absence of privacy doesn't make everything harmonious. With such closeness, there's always the risk of conflict. Disagreements are inevitable when people are constantly on top of each other. Perhaps someone's job is more stressful than another's, or someone else feels overlooked. The lack of space for personal reflection can lead to small irritations becoming bigger issues. But survival, above all, requires unity, so any rift or tension must be resolved quickly. A breakdown in the community could result in serious consequences, not just for the individual, but for the entire group. It's a constant balancing act, one that tests your patience and endurance. Despite these challenges, the social structure of the mammoth pelt tent plays a crucial role in ensuring survival. Everyone has a responsibility, and in the most basic sense, these roles are often clearly defined. The elder members of the group provide wisdom and guidance, while the younger generation helps with the physical labor. The hunters and gatherers perform the physically demanding tasks, while others maintain the shelter, the fire, and the communal spaces. Everyone contributes to the well-being of the group. It's not a perfect system, and it doesn't come without its moments of tension, but it works because it has to. In this world, there is no I, there is only we. But even within this collective system, there are roles that carry more weight. The hunters are revered for their bravery and skill, and there's a certain level of respect that comes with providing food for the entire group. Similarly, the fire tenders and those who maintain the shelter take on responsibilities that are crucial to survival, ensuring that everyone remains warm and sheltered from the cold. These roles may seem simple, but in a world where every action could mean life or death, the people in charge of these tasks are always under pressure. The fire doesn't keep itself burning, the shelter doesn't maintain itself, and the hunt doesn't always go as planned. At night, when everyone settles in for sleep, it's easy to forget the weight of the day's labor. But even as you lay on the first-strewn floor, there's an underlying awareness that tomorrow will bring more of the same. The fires will need stoking, the pelts will need mending, and the hunt will need to continue. You might sleep, but the tension never really fades. It's always there, simmering beneath the surface, the knowledge that your survival depends on the strength of the group and how well you can work together. The fear of isolation is never far from your mind. Despite the warmth of the fire and the closeness of your people, there's always the knowledge that if something went wrong, if something fractured within the community, you could find yourself out in the cold. The mammoth pelt tent is your refuge, but it's also a reminder that survival is not guaranteed, and it's only through cooperation that you have a chance of making it through the harsh Ice Age world outside. As the days pass inside the mammoth pelt tent, the relentless rhythm of survival continues. There is no room for complacency. Every action, every decision, affects the whole group. The tent, while offering protection, is also a constant reminder of just how fragile life is in the wilds of the Ice Age. As time moves on, you begin to realize that survival in this harsh environment isn't just about having a shelter. It's about maintaining the delicate balance between resources, relationships, and the overwhelming forces of nature. The most essential resource, of course, is food. Without it, none of this would be possible. And yet, despite the daily efforts to secure enough game, the uncertainty of the hunt remains ever present. No matter how skilled the hunters are, no matter how many mammoths and other game they bring down, there's always the chance that the group might go hungry. A failed hunt, a sudden storm, or a predator could easily turn their efforts to nothing. The mammoth pelt tent is both a sanctuary and a reminder of the very real threat of hunger that looms over everyone. When the hunt is successful, there's a temporary sense of relief, a brief moment of triumph. The meat is shared, the hides are worked, and the bones are repurposed for tools. But even in those moments of abundance, there's the knowledge that this could change at any time. The unpredictability of the environment means that survival is always precarious. The food you share today could be gone tomorrow. It's a constant cycle: hunt, eat, work, repeat. The effort is endless, but it's necessary. The group thrives only when everyone plays their part. But the group isn't just defined by the roles people play in providing food and shelter. It's defined by the unspoken bonds that form between people living in such close quarters. There's a deep sense of reliance on one another, a trust that forms out of necessity. Everyone has a role to play, and their lives are all interconnected. The elders guide the younger generations, passing on knowledge about the land, the animals, and how to survive. The children, though they play and are largely protected from the hardest work, will one day take on these responsibilities themselves. And though every day feels like a struggle for survival, there are moments of joy, too. The bonds that are formed within the mammoth pelt tent are ones that last a lifetime. Despite the constant challenges of life in such a harsh environment, the people of the tent are resilient. They have an uncanny ability to find comfort in each other's presence, to share stories and laughter, to take a moment of respite in the middle of the day's work. It's not much, but it's enough to get them through. But there's another layer to this existence. It's not just the immediate needs of food, shelter, and safety that define life in the mammoth pelt tent. There's also the constant awareness of the dangers lurking just outside. The predators, the wild beasts, the other tribes, all of them are a threat, waiting for the slightest mistake to strike. The fire inside the tent might provide warmth and light, but it also serves as a barrier, a shield that keeps the darkness at bay. The moment the fire dies, the shelter becomes nothing more than a hollow shell, exposed to the dangers of the wilderness. The constant fear of the unknown, of the creatures that might wander too close, of the unpredictability of the elements, forms an invisible weight on everyone's shoulders. The tent is meant to protect, but it also serves as a reminder that there is no true safety in this world. The wilderness doesn't care about your shelter, your fire, or your community. It's wild, untamed, and always there, just beyond the warmth of the fire. In many ways, this ever-present danger makes the bonds of community all the more precious. It's in the face of this uncertainty that the strength of the group is most needed. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, the rhythms of life inside the mammoth pelt tent continue. It's a constant, unbroken cycle of work, survival, and community. And while the challenges are great, so too are the rewards. The group survives not just because of their skills or the shelter they've built, but because of the way they've learned to work together. They find warmth, security, and purpose in each other's company. They find strength in the shared struggle and in the knowledge that, despite the hardships of the world around them, they are not alone.